Magandang umaga po mga kaibigan. Welcome to another edition of our Tapatan sa Aristocrat. We will be talking about the Philippine National Police. Kumusta ba ang ating pulisya ngayon? Alam po ninyo, mga dekada na ang nakalipas, yung mga pulis noon ay kilala bilang constables. Sila po ay naglingkod, hindi lamang taga-pamayapa, meron ding detective work, at iba pa. Alam po ba ninyo na noong mga unang panahon, pati ang mga constable, kung tawagin, ay designated rin na sanitary inspector sa ilang bahagi ng Pilipinas. Yung mga kabataan na kaedad ko noon, pag naliligaw, ang sabi ng mga maestra at maestro, lumapit kayo sa pulis at humingi ng direksyon kung paano kayo makauuwi o makararating sa inyong nais puntahan. Ang mga pulis ay considered local heroes. They defended people in danger from lawless elements. During the 1960s, local government units appointed members of the police force. During martial law, the Philippine Constabulary had a civilian backup which is called the Integrated National Police. If you'll be recalled, the PCINP was part of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Nagbago ang panahon at ganun din ang perception ng tao sa pulisya. During the pre-martial law years, yung mga aktivista ay nakakilala ng unit ng pulisya at ito ay ang Metrocom. Nakasagupa nila ang mga estudyante na noon ay considered anti-Marcos. Kabilang sa mga aktivista noon, sina naging CHR Chair at Congresswoman Eta Rosales na inaasahan nating makakasama ngayong umaga. Yung mga sagupaan ay naganap noon sa labas ng Malacanang at ganun din hanggang sa Senado. Kaya hindi nagtagal, kinatakutan ang PCINP elements, lalo na ang Metrocom. There were PC battalions assigned to the different regions in the country. Sa amin sa Bicol, ang pinakasikat ay ang 52nd PC Battalion. Naging sikat dahilan sa mga pag-abuso sa karapatang pangtao. Of course, we believe there are good men and women in the police service. However, over the years, police elements got involved in controversial cases as some of them got involved in crimes which they're supposed to prevent in the first place. Whenever reports of human rights violations are made, PNP personnel remains on the top of the list. And the explanation provided is simple. Sapagkat lahat ng lugar sa bansa ay may mga himpilan ng pulisya at sila ang kaharap ng mga mamamayan. Fast forward natin ang sitwasyon, mga kaibigan, mga panauhin. The anti-drug campaign of the government led to the questionable and regrettable incidents which led to the loss of lives in the process. No less than Justice Secretary Maynard Guevara disclosed the failure of the PNP to subject the weapons allegedly used in legitimate operations to ballistics. So ano nangyari? Currently, we heard of incidents where police elements were serving arrest warrants na nauwi sa madudugong sitwasyon. We heard of the Tumandok incident last December 30 in Tapas, Capiz, and in Calinog in Iloilo. Quite recently, we heard of the Tarlac incident which became viral in social media. Last Sunday, policemen serving warrants in Calabarzon ended in what has been described today as Bloody Sunday. Nung Lunes, nabalita natin ang madugong pangyayari sa Calbayog City kung saan napatay ang mayor at ito pong insidenteng ito ay nakunan ng social media at doon sa mga nakitang footage, mukhang nag-iwan ng mas maraming tanong kaysa sa sagot. Nung Biyernes, nakakita po kami ng liham na humihiling, purportedly coming from an intelligence operative in Calbayog City, asking the clerk of court for names of lawyers representing alleged members of communist terrorist groups. While some may say these are isolated incidents, lives have been lost, there must be something behind all this. Is it the kind of training being given the police na naging dahilan ng ganitong pagkakataon? Noong pong 1992, bago naluklok ang Pangulong Fidel Ramos, nagkaroon po ng sinasabing malawakang cleansing. Let's find out what has happened from that time on. We're happy to have with us si General Arturo Lumibaw, dating Chief, Director General ng Philippine National Police. Kasama rin po natin si Major General Alex Sintin. Siya po ang Director ng National Police Training Institute. We're joined by Police General Enrique Galang, a member of the Advisory Council of the Philippine National Police. And we have with us Attorney Maria Leonora Camarao, ang Chief ng Recruitment and Selection Service ng Philippine National Police. We're hoping Secretary Rafi Alunan will join us and Congresswoman Eta Rosales, who was a former chair of the Commission on Human Rights, would also join us in a little while. At hinihintay ko rin si Congressman Edgar Mary S. Sarmiento, District Representative ng 1st District ng Samar, na isa po sa mga naglabas ng pahayag tungkol sa naganap sa Calbayog City. At si Attorney Ramil Gabao, ang chairman ng Board of Criminology ng Professional Regulation Commission. So let's start. Simulan natin kay General Art Lumibaw, who was once a spokesperson of then PNP Director General Ricardo Sarmiento. Magandang umaga and nice to see you, General Art. Kumusta na po kayo? Ano ba ang inyong pananaw sa nagaganap ngayon?
Magandang umaga, Melo, at sa ating mga kasamahan dito sa Tapatan. I'm very glad and humbled by your invitation to join this illustrious group of reactors or what you call this, guests dito sa iyong Tapatan. Yes, I myself, pag may nababasa akong ganito, I immediately react sa Facebook and I give my 5 cents worth, having been the chief of the National Police 15 years ago, Melo. 10 years na tayong retired. But still, nandun pa rin yung pagmamahal ko, kagaya ni General Galang dito na classmate ko, halos sabay kaming nag-retire. And so every merong control, one of my suggestions. Now, dito sa mga recent incidents na binanggit mo, ay nakakabahala talaga. I would say at the least it is very unfortunate, not only for the Philippine National Police, pero sa ating mga kababayan, sa ating in the whole, yung Pilipinas, kasi we are, kumbaga, may mga foreign observers din tayo. And of course, pag sinabi nilang mukhang may trend, ay nakakabahala talaga sa ating peace and order. May mga reactors tayo rito from various sectors. May recruitment, may training. Kasi i-discuss ko ito mamaya, Melo, no? I will just give my colleagues here kung ano yung mga statement mo nila before we go into the hard discussion of the
Yes.
issues. Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much. General Galang, your thoughts, please, and welcome to the discussions. Paki-unmute lang po muna.
Okay na?
Yes, please. Go.
Thank you very much, Melo, at magandang umaga sa lahat ng mga resource persons, mga panelists na inimbita mo. Isang malaking karangalan na makasama sa iyong tapatan sa Aristocrat. Ang 2 cents worth na opinion ko rito is this, I may be wrong. But yung disciplinary authority ngayon ng mga police officers ay ibang-iba na nung kami ay nasa PCINP, which is part of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Kasi applicable sa lahat ng miyembro ng PCINP ang Articles of War, where a commanding officer is himself a summary court martial officer, meaning to say he can issue arrest warrant to any erring AFP personnel. But when we became a PNP, we are now covered by the civil service law. And it is quite difficult now to discipline an erring police personnel because first you have to file a case against him. You cannot just simply detain him. All you can do administratively is suspend, but he is still there at large. Unlike in the military articles of war, he can be already confined or even detained indefinitely. So yun yung isang nakita kong basic defect, if I may say so, doon sa disciplinary action ng PNP kasi civilian agency na ang PNP. But along that line, maybe we can do something by amending some laws, Melo.
Yeah. The reason why we have the Philippine National Police, it's civilian in scope, national in character.
Challenge.
Tama?
Yes, yes. Under the
Pero
Constitution.
ang nangyayari daw po, sabi nung ilan, nagiging police in character. Which is sad. Police in character. Anyway, opening statements pa lang naman tayo. Si Attorney Ramil Gabao is trying to find his way to join us. He tested positive for COVID and he's in an isolation facility. Medyo mahina raw yung signal. Sabi ko, please join us by hook or by crook. Pero let's hear from General Alex Sentin. Kayo po ang nasa Training Institute. Ano po yung basic ninyong itinuturo sa mga pulis? Good morning.
Good morning, Milo. And of course, I would like to take this opportunity para pasasalamatan ng inyong invitation. Representing our Chief PNP, Police General Debold Encinas. So kasama ko ngayon si Colonel Nora Camarao na of course, to answer all our questions regarding training sa PNP. So sa PNP, sa PNP lahat na police amin bago sila i-dispatch after graduation doon sa kanilang different assignments. And of course, we are in charge with the training of the career courses ng ating mga PNCOs, senior PNCOs na they are as a requirements for their training. So after na ang control ko rito is to train our new recruits. At the same time, after the reach the rank of sergeant, then they have to go back to training centers for their career courses. So dito sa natin sa training, initially we have different modules dito. So dito yung values and ethics, yung family life, and of course yung spiritual upliftment and most importantly is yung instilling discipline. Kasi remember na imagine this mga training natin, mga civilian ito. You're the first time na encounter itong klaseng training at itong klaseng custom and tradition sa law enforcement. So minumuld natin sila into better future law enforcers. So
Okay.
siguro mamaya i-discuss ko sa inyo yung mga trainings namin.
Opo.
Good morning.
Magandang umaga and welcome. Pero kasama natin si, alam nyo, mukha isa sa mga paboritong pangalan ito ngayon. Si attorney, si Colonel Maria Leonora Camaraw. Parang paboritong pangalan ngayon yan. Kayo po yung head ng Recruitment and Selection Service. How do you do your job? How do you recruit and select people to join the service?
Good morning po, sir. First of all, would like to, of course, to greet my past Chief PNP po, si Police Detective General Aristocrat, sir. And of course, ang aking, hindi man po ako kilala, pero ako po ay isa rin sa kanyang na-inspired, si General Jalang po, sir. And of course, si Atty. Gabaw din po, kilala din po namin. So ngayon po, sir, sa question niyo po, regarding the recruitment, for the information of my, my past PNP po, the PNP Recruitment and Selection Service is one of the new NSU unit na po. So the recruitment is no longer part of the DPRM. We are now a separate unit. We are being called to establish a separate unit for recruitment. First, of course, for the accountability. And nagkamali ho kami ng recruit, kami din po yung masisisi at makakasuhan. So we are facing that way. So in line of this function that we have, so we are created last year po, May 18, 2020. Kaya kung makikita niyo po ngayon, kahit pandemic, maraming hunahong pagbabago sa recruitment. Hindi na po pwedeng tawag ng tawag. As much as possible, sabi ko nga po, nung ako'y inilagay, then ako unang-unang director ng itong unit na to, nung ako'y inilagay, I promised to Chief PNP Gamboa, General Gamboa, that I will do my best to at least not eliminate but reduce corruption in the recruitment. Kaya kung sino lang pong qualified ngayon, yun lang po ang pwede natin i-appoint. So I even asked all the RDs, all the appointing authorities in the PNP, kung sino lang po ang qualified. At qualified according to the general standard set by law, by the medical, by the policy. Yung physically fit, yung sinasabi natin, yung pangarap po ni Chief PNP, lumiba po na cream of the crop, yung general galang na cream of the crop. Sabi ko po sa inyo, na-inspired po ako sa inyo noon pa. Kaya po ngayon, we are trying our best na magkaroon ng reforms. So sa reforms po natin ngayon, dahil pandemic, of course, we have to utilize the technology. And then, we have to guard, kahit pandemic, we have to guard each step. Hindi po pwedeng sabihin ng health service na, amin lang to, huwag kayong makialam. No, magmamatsyag kami. So we are now controlling the recruitment as to the qualification standards. And also, we are also pleading to our appointing authority to hear us na ito lang po yung mga bata na qualified and fair and square. Justice must prevail. Mahirap man o mayaman, may kilala man o wala, basta qualified. We have to accept them according to the standards set by law. So
Okay.
yun po yung reforms na ginagawa natin ngayon. Kahit mag-iisang taon pa lang kami.
Okay, good. At least meron tayong nakikitang direksyon. Pero how sure are you na yung neuropsychiatric screening hindi nasusuhulan? Dahilan sa kuminsan, mag-iisip ka, anong mindset ng isang pulis? Kaya ba niyang tumugon sa krisis at hindi ba magtititili yan? Hindi ba magpapaputok na lang yan? Ano ang inyong guarantee na yung inyong neuropsychiatric exams kapanay-paniwala?
Sir, with your question po, of course, NAPOLCOM is present in every stage. Di po katulad noon na yung nga po, hindi po sila pinapanood. Sino pa home present in every stage? All the members of the recruitment selection committee and the office and the personnel of the office concerned. Kung sino po yung merong quota. Okay. So as to the question, syempre yung question po na hindi naman ikaw ang magpapa-examine. So, sir, nilinaw namin sa aming leadership, what do you want? What do you expect to be the police officer in the future? Ano ba ang quality ang gusto natin? Anong quality ng mga bata? Character ng mga bata na gusto natin salain? So, yun po yun, sir. Even sa lateral po, I even asked General Gamboa that time, sir, anong leadership character ang gusto niyo sa ating magiging future lateral entry? Kahit technical yan, kahit mapalan yan. So, yun, sir, muna. Inuna natin yun. Then, from then, kinausap natin ang ating neuropsychiatric. So, kung dati-dati po, sir, ang ating exam ang result ng neuropsychiatric, it will take 2 weeks bago ma-release. Ngayon po, sir, I can say to you na within 24 hours after the interview, release na ang exam. Nasa akin na po ang result. So, meaning, kahit ano pang tawag, kahit ano, wala na po. Nasa akin ang result. And we will inform the applicant of the result. Hindi na po pwede katulad noon na tago ng tago po. Tapos, napapalitan ng listahan. Yun ang allegation po nila. So, ayoko po ng ganung allegation sa time ko. Kaya po ngayon, siguro pasalamat din po ako, sir, na puro millennials yung mga kasama ko ngayon. Kaya medyo aggressive sila and I use them aggressiveness for these changes. So ngayon po, within 24 hours or 24 hours, sir, after the interview, release na po ang result. Kasi kailangan na ho nila mag-medical. And if medical po, 1 week lang po. Kaya po yung aming recruitment na 6 months nung araw, kaya naman po palang gawin 1 buwan. Okay.
Let's leave it at that. Pero, hindi na kayo kasama dun sa adjutant, ano? Iba na yung inyong opisina.
Sir, wala na po kami sa personnel po.
Okay. Dahil sa merong mga akusasyon nun, meron ikan nasa personnel na biglang nagkakarancho. Dumadami yung baka, dumadami yung kalabaw dahil sa recruitment. Sabi niya, that is not a cow, that is a goat. Oh, I heard that. Pero I don't know. General Lumibaw, your thoughts about it.
With due respect po, sir, na yung allegation na yan, wala naman po.
Wala na yan.
Okay. Lawyer po, allegations po nating tawagin.
Okay.
So, ako po ay naging R1 din po ng NCRPO.
Okay.
Alam niyo naman po, NCRPO na po. Nag-R1 po ako na chief ng RPRMD ng personnel ng NCRPO.
Okay.
So, doon ako talaga kailangan tumapang.
Okay.
NCRPO babae ka.
As you say.
Ikaw nag-iisang babaeng staff. Alam ni Sir Lumibal yan. Kailangan mo matapang ka. Kaya sir, sa recruitment ng NCRPO ng 2019, yan, kasama ko po ang ating Lieutenant Colonel si Lerma. Yeah. Si Leia.
Okay. Yeah. Pero, General Lumibaw, how do you look at the recruitment today? Because, you know, kahit pa may pagbabago, sabi nga ni Attorney Camaraw, ni Colonel Camaraw, 1 year pa lang ito. Pero yung mga pulis natin na nai-involve sa krimen, parang matagal-tagal na rin na-recruit. Ano po? General Lumibaw, please.
Yes, alam mo, Melo, to be candid about it, may mga ganyan nangyayari noon. Yung sabi mo, kambing sisiyo. Sabi niya, kambing sisiyo. That is not a goat. That is not a cow. That is a goat.
Yeah.
To be candid about it, sabi ko nga, may mga personnel tayo na guilty of that. But over the years, meron pa rin akong konting naririnig. Pero kumbaga, that is already an exception. Alam mo, mas mahirap pumasok na pulis kaysa mag-presidente. You know why? Ang academic qualification ng pulis, you should be a 4-year degree holder. Ay, ang presidente, as long as you can read and write, you don't have to understand. So,
That's a very valid point.
Oh, kaya very, very stringent ang recruitment sa PNP. Ever since the PNP was under the Civil Service Commission. Now, na-mention mo kanina yung neuropsychiatric, ano?
Yeah.
You know, I will talk from my personal experience. When I was the regional director of Region 1, mayroong lumapit sa akin. Alam mo na, pag nasa field ka, may lapit na kamag-anak, mga kaibigan, yung mga anak nila gustong pumasok. So sabi ng kaibigan ko, General, sabi niya, pwede bang tulungan mo itong si kamag-anak ko dahil bumagsak daw sa NP? Sabi niya. Ay sabi ko, alam mo, maski si Presidente, hindi pwedeng baguhin yung result ng NP. But just the same, I went to see the psychiatric doctor. So sabi ko, pwede bang ulitin? Baka naman nagkamali kayo sa results. Baka pwedeng ulitin. Naku sir, sabi niya, humingi ka na ng iba, wag lang yan. Imagine a general asking the doctor, and the doctor, he stood her ground. I forgot the name already. Kasi mahirap pag yung neuropsychiatric nga, baka mamaya bumigay yung utak niya, he will not only be harming himself, but people in the streets kung sakaling bumigay yung utak. Kaya napakahirap talaga ng NP. And I'd like to believe that our neuropsychiatric or psychiatrists in the PNP have that same kind of thinking na hindi dapat ipasa o pakiusapan yung tungkol sa NP.
Aha. So hindi mag-a-apply yung GSC.
Wala na yun.
General Mibaw. Yung GSC, Governor, Senator, Congressman.
Sabi ko nga, maski si Presidente, he cannot overturn the result kasi he will feel guilty kung may mangyari doon. Kung makamatay yung tao, mahirap.
Okay.
Mahirap talagang neuropsychiatric.
Okay. May pagbati nga pala rito. May mga nanonood sa atin. Si Malu Mariano from California. Good morning daw kay Buddy Gomez.
Hello.
Ganun din si Juvie de Guzman sa Concepcion, Tarlac. Si Danilo Caceres, a retired policeman, a police officer in Seattle in Washington, at si Carrie Buenafe. Siguro, hinga natin ang reaction yung kasama natin all the way from Texas. Buddy, in as much as you're there, you're a former press secretary. How do you look at the police service from your time to this time?
Tinatakbuhan ko na ngayon eh.
Ha?
Yung araw, tumatakbo ko to meet them coming home. Alam mo, lumaki ko sa isang kali sa Sampalo na ang kaibigan ko, anak ng isang pulis at anak ng isang sikreta. Ang tawag sa detective nung araw kasi sikreta eh. Do you remember? Or
Yes,
you were
of
not
course.
born before.
Yeah.
Anyway, kami mga bata nung araw, pagkahapon at mag-uuwian na yung sikreta at saka yung pulis, tinatakbuhan namin dahil kung minsan binibigyan pa kami ng candy. Ngayon, ang balita ko ang mga bata natatakot pag kami nakakita ng pulis eh.
Mm-hmm. So yung mindset na bago.
That is trivial coming from me because all I wanted to know was to mapakinggan yung usapan ninyo.
Yeah. Pero we're happy that you're there and you can recall those days na yung tingin sa police talagang maaasahan. Sila yung protector.
Of course. Lumaki kaming ganyan eh. Ang pantakot sa amin nung araw, yung sirenong Bombay.
Yung security guard sa Bombay. Oo. Tama.
Which puts me in a pre-war vintage.
I can imagine.
86 na ako.
You don't look like. Anyway, si General Ike Galang is busy as a member of the advisory committee. What have you advised the PNP to further update kung ano yung pwedeng gawin para maiwasan yung ganitong image? General Galang, please.
Yan, nabanggit mo yung advisory council. Isang magandang development na nangyari sa PNP ay meron na silang tinatawag na Police Patrol Plan 2030. At meron na ring dedicated unit, yung Center for Police Strategic Management Office na nag-oversee nitong Police Patrol Plan 2030, at bawat unit ng PNP from the national down to the police station, merong advisory council composed of stakeholders from the community. Like for example, in my case, for 7 years, I have been the chair of the PNP Aviation Security Group Advisory Council and the PNP SOSIA. Kami ang nag-a-advise ngayon, ano ba yung reality on the ground? Kasi alam naman natin, lalo na sa ibang units ng PNP, walang masyadong feel sa ground, lalo na yung mga regulatory bodies like Firearms and Explosives Office tsaka SOSIA. But unfortunately, sa aking experience, 7 years chair, ang bilis ng turnout ng leadership ng bawat units ng PNP. That includes the Chief PNP himself. At dahil mabilis ang turnout, lagi nag-uumpisa ka sa umpisa, when in fact, supposed to be, the Patrol Plan 2030 is supposed to be the one giving continuity to whoever will rule any PNP unit. Pero in my experience, hindi ganun ang nangyayari. Laging may learning curve, laging back to square one. But the most beautiful thing here is that sa yearly National Advisory Council Summit namin, where every chair of the different advisory councils are called into a summit, nandun ng enthusiasm ng mga advisory council members who are coming from the community, who are the stakeholders. So nandun ang enthusiasm nila to really support the PNP and really transform the PNP. Matutuwa akong sasabihin sa iyo, Melo, na nung time ng classmate ko, si Art Lumibaw, inumpisahan niya yung PNP Transformation Program. At itong PNP Transformation Program na inumpisahan niya, institutionalized na dito sa sinasabi kong PNP Patrol Plan 2030 as managed by the Center for PNP Strategic Management. So, it's a matter of posing really to the defined objective of the strategic management para ma-transform talaga ang PNP. Lalo na ngayon, dumoble na ang strength ng PNP. Noong time namin ni Jerry Lumibaw, 100,000. Ngayon, 200,000 na eh. So, uulitin ko, ang kanina nabanggit ko yung disciplinary action. O mahirap ngayon kasi magpapile ka ng case tapos may mga different appeals pa. So, nangyayari, nakakabalik eh. Samantalang nung nasa PCINP kami, pag kinulong mo at saka 10 days lang siyang awol, wala nang investigation yan eh. Wala nang paperwork yan. Drop from the rolls na. Ang tinatawag lang dyan, yung morning report. 10 days kang absent. Pero sa PNP, you have to file negligence of duty, serious negligence of duty, kung ilang araw na awol. Hihintayin mo pa yung decision noon bago siya matanggal sa PNP. So in other words, walang asim yung disciplinary mechanism ng PNP kasi covered ng civil service na mistiso naman. Civil service nga pero wala ka namang overtime after 8 hours. Mm-hmm. Ikalawa, nabanggit mo sa introduction mo, napakaganda ng introduction mo eh, yung PCINP. Bakit effective ang PCINP? I would really say, and I'm sure even my classmate Jan Lumiba will agree with me, na napaka-effective ng PCINP kasi yung INP noon, sila yung nag-gather ng information against lawless elements, the insurgents, pero nag-i-strike yung PC. You don't expect the INP to strike kasi taga dun sila. So hindi mo sila masisecure. Ngayon, lahat ng PNP, lalo na sa local level, taga dun na eh. Do you expect them now to really be effective in anti-crime, anti-insurgency? So, mas maganda, again, another maybe amendment to the law, PNP pa rin, pero merong national component, merong local component. Yung local component, magiging magaling yon sa information na gathering. And then let the national do the striking if there is a need. So, maraming dapat na drastic changes sa personal na pananaw ko, Melo.
Okay. napakaganda nung binabanggit ninyo, yung advisory council. I remember, somebody recommended me to be a part of the advisory council of a certain unit.
Mhm.
Sabi ko, di okay, walang problema. Kaya lang, ang natawa ako, bini-BI ako nung unit. Sabi ko, forget the appointment. I don't need it. No? Kinukuha niyo ako member ng advisory committee tapos i-BBI niyo ako. Ano yan? Kalungkutan yan.
Hindi ko pa
Mahirap
kilala
yan.
ng... Sino bang hindi nakakakilala sa iyo, Melo, sa PNP?
Natatawa nga ako eh. Kaya anyway, okay lang po yun. No problem. Pero siguro, let's focus dun sa training. Sa training institute. Major General Sintin, siguro briefly tell us ano yung mga training na ginagawa ninyo? Binanggit nyo kanina yung malawakang sistema. Pero can you go into particulars, please?
Good morning again. Of course, I'd like to acknowledge my boss, si General Galang, at si General Lumibaw. Magkasama kami nung araw, time ni General Sarmiento. So I was
Yeah.
in the camp then. Nung time sa Bataan namin, that's why naging idol ko yung dalawang spokesperson ni Chief PNP.
Good.
So, yeah, masaya ko na rin nakita ko na kasama si Sir Art, kasama si Sir Art. Then, sabi ko magandang discussion ito. So, sa training sa PNPTI, sabi ko nga before na admit for training itong mga recruits natin ay dadaan muna doon sa process of screening doon sa office ni Colonel Camarao. Then after na all the qualified applicants ay napadala for training, then they are going to have their training for 6 months dito sa PNPTI. For the first 2 months nila, yun yung tawag namin na breaking period, na wherein dadali namin sila doon sa isang lugar na they are restricted, and then they are going to undergo some orientation, indoctrination, and some training. Especially doon sa una-una, ang introduce namin doon ay value and ethics ng mga kapulisan natin na dapat na pag-graduate nila sa training ay ito ang mga expectation natin sa kanila. And then introduce natin yung value for work, effectiveness, and productivity. Then nandito yung kanilang respecting and obeying authority, training ng mga personal training nila, and then showing commitment to excellence at effort.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, meron nila yung police operations, yung parang history ng police, bakit, paano bang may history ng police natin. So dapat, being new recruits, bago sa serbisyo, maintindihan nila kung anong klaseng organization ang pinapasokan nila. Then, during the training, may mga ini-instill natin ang discipline dito. Kasi, no amount of yung mga ethics na yan, yung mga spiritual upliftment, kung yung discipline wala siyang discipline sa sarili nila. So, that's why lahat ng activities nila doon sa loob, hindi man natin sila pinapahirapan, but will let them feel na ito yung klaseng career o service yung pinapasokan nila. You know, sabi ko nga, PNP is a unique as compared agency, as compared to other government agency. Kasi dito, kailangan din itong disiplina. Kasi ang mga kapulisan natin, may una-una, naka-uniform tayo, at the same time, may kasama tayong baril. So, ang isang tao, pag may baril, he should be responsible, disciplined, and accountable all the time. Kasi once nakakamali yan, ito na yung narinig natin na mayroong manambabaril dyan o mga hindi sumusunod sa mga guidelines and policy ng PNP. That's why, during the training, very strict kami rito sa PNPTI. So after 2 months of police tactics training, doon namin sila nilalagay sa mga satellite training camps namin, wherein they are not allowed to use cell phones, they are not allowed to accept visitors, they are not allowed to do some other activities except yung mga schedule na ng training like the POI na sinusunod namin doon. And then after 2 months of training, babalik na sila dito sa loob ng training centers for their academics training. So sa academics nila, dito na yung may module kasi yan. So dito yung police operations, police investigations, intelligence, and police community relations. So, at marami pa kaming introduce dito. So, dito pa lang, minumuld namin sila to prepare them to become the best professional and competent police officers. Sabi ko nga sa kanila kaya as a director of PNPTI, I find time na ikutin sila at kakausapin ko sila personally. Sabi ko sa kanila, alam nyo, sabi ko, don't you know na you are the most privileged government employee dito sa Pilipinas? Dahil una-una sabi ko, kung ang teacher ay na-receiving 20,000 o 18,000 a month, you are receiving 37,000 immediately upon your take out. And the 37,000 na yan, sabi ko sa kanila, wala kang gagawin doon, kundi mag-training ka. Yung pag-squat thrust dyan, pag-takbo nyo dyan, may bayad yan. 37,000 binabayaran sa inyo. Initially lang yan.
Okay. Yeah. I remember yung isang kinumbidang speaker sa Region 5, if I recall it right, si General Lumiba was still Provincial Commander of Camarines Sur. Yung kinumbida noon sa Camp Ibalon, ang pangalan ni Sunny Escudero. May he rest in peace. So before he delivered this speech, his remarks, kinausap siya ng mga pulis. Sabi ni Sunny, I recall this, I covered the event. Sabi niya, yung mga pulis natin, yung mga PC, nagre-request ng dagdag na sahod. Ang masasabi ko lang, ganito. Sabi niya, pulis na kayo, may sahod pa. You know, it may be a sick joke, but it's a joke just the same. Pero babalikan ko si General Galang. General, merong disciplinary powers ang PNP. However, pag nadisiplina na yung tao at nag-appeal sa NAPOLCOM, nare-reverse daw yung mga decision. Kaya nagmumukhang kawawa yung pulis na nagdidisiplina ng tauhan nila. Is this true?
Well, sa personal experience ko, lalo na ako'y chief ng director of staff, totoo yan. Maraming erring police personnel na di-dismiss ng PNP disciplinary machinery pero nakakabalik dahil sa appeal. So yun ang isang problema Yun ang isang problema dahil may appeal. In fact, maraming appeal hanggang makaakyat ka pa sa taas In fact, may appeal pa rin sa korte because you have to file cases against them. So, yun yung sinasabi ko Para sa akin lang, 2 cents worth of opinion, kung ang military ay merong articles of war, kung saan nandun talaga ang authority ng commanding officer, dapat sa ang PNP meron ding articles of peace. Nandun yung disciplinary code ng bawat officers, lalo na ng commander, para may asim. Kasi sa ngayon, papile ka ng case, walang asim ikaw din lang magpapile ng case. As a matter of fact, noong time ni Jer Nazareno, ang ginawa niya, natatandaan ko yun yung mga iskalawag sa Manila, wag naman maging masakit ang kalooban ng taga Mindanao, mali talaga yun, dinala sa Mindanao. Ang objective, siguradong hindi magre-report, maaawol. So pagka naawol, magpapile ng serious negligence of duty para ma-dismiss. Hindi walang nangyaring ganun May mga tinakbuhan lang ng mga politiko, nakabalik na ulit sa Manila Walang nangyari. Hari-hari na yung nag-order. Walang nangyari. So, that is what I mean Pero sa articles of part, 10 days awol ka. Wala nang investigation yan Wala nang paperwork yan Marireflect lang sa tinatawag na morning report. Drop from the rolls ka na. Wala ka nang pwedeng gawin. Drop from the rolls ka na automatically. Kasi kung may paperwork ka, magpapile ka ng case, sasagot mo yung mga appeal, etc. Abala yan sa isang staff at saka commander na mag-paperwork pa samantalang nakapokus siya sa mga operations sa community.
Okay. All right. We're joined by Attorney Ramil Gabao. Si Ramil ay nasa isang isolation facility. Uy, get well soon. Sana okay lang. Siya po ang chair ng Board of Criminology ng Professional Regulation Commission. How are things going? Ilang mga criminologists na nasa serbisyo ng Philippine National Police?
Okay, good morning, Camelo. I would like also to greet yung kaklase ko sa PhD ng Criminology, si Sir Ike Galang. Kaklase kami niyan when he was still
Nice to see you again.
commissioner.
Yes,
Yes. Opo, oo. Camelo, so far sa record din naman ng PNP, 40% of the 200,000 plus personnel of the PNP, 40% po ay mga criminologists. Hindi pa ho natin dito isinasama yung mga hindi pa registered criminologists pero mga graduate na ng criminology. So 40% lamang ho out of 200,000 plus. So that's roughly 80,000 or something.
Okay. Doon sa 80,000 na yon, namomonitor niyo ba how they behave? Because we'd like to come up with a comparative analysis of graduates ng training, yung lateral entry, at yung criminologists. Were you able to do a study sa bagay na yan?
Camelo, ito nga ang unfortunate dyan no? Itong mga registered criminologists, regulated sila, no? Whether or not they join the PNP or any other law enforcement of public safety services, regulated yung practice nila doon sa mga agencies na yon ng PRC at ng Board of Criminology. Camelo, magsi 6 years na ako sa PRC, sa board, no? Maswerte ako kung sa isang taon meron akong isang criminologist na iniimbestigahan for misconduct or malpractice of profession. Ibig sabihin, marami hindi nakakaalam na insofar as criminologists are concerned, they can be subjected to disciplinary action by the board. At ito ang sabi ng civil service dyan, dahil ginamit ng mga criminologists na yan ang kanilang mga licenses to join the PNP or even in their promotion, pag na-revoke or na-suspend yung license nila, then dapat sabi ng civil service, tanggal din sila sa serbisyo or suspended din sila sa serbisyo because that is an eligibility. Unfortunately, Camelo, ngayon, sabi ko nga, maswerte. In my 6 years, wala pa ako ni isang naimbestigahan o na-disiplina na isang criminologist na nasa PNP dahil walang nagre-reklamo. Now, may dagdag ko rin, Camelo, no? Dapat parehasin natin sa mga teachers. Yung mga licensed teachers na nagtatrabaho sa DepEd, no? Merong concurrent jurisdiction ang Board for Professional Teachers. Na pag sila ay kinakasuhan sa DepEd, automatic concurrent jurisdiction ang board. So that, tanggalin man sila ng DepEd, pero kung hindi tatanggalin ng PRC ang kanilang license, they can find jobs somewhere else as a teacher. Pero pag tinanggal ng PRC ang license nila as a teacher, they cannot anymore find job as a teacher because that license is their authority to practice the profession. Ganyan din ang setup ng criminology. Unfortunately, even the PNP is not aware of it. Although, because of our new law naman na in-approve ng 2018, I am already in communication with HRDD, no? HRDD of the PNP and DPRM. Na unti-unti naman sinusunod na nila yung ating mga batas, yung ating batas sa criminologies. At sana makatulong kami sa pagdidisiplina, no? Especially ng mga criminologists, no? Dahil yun lang naman ang jurisdiction namin. Yung 40% lang na yun. Kasi nga, sabi ko nga, Camelo, if we can contribute in the disciplinary mechanism, we are hoping that 40% of criminologists in the PNP should be role models. Kasi sila itong dinomonitor at nire-regulate other than the internal regulation as a matter of employment in the PNP.
Okay. Maganda yung binanggit mo. Magandang i-follow up yan. Let's hear from a veteran journalist, si Dave Viridiano. Si Dave covered the Philippine National Police for some time. Dave, how do you look at the police today compared to the times na nagko-cover ka sa Camp Crame at iba pa? Anong pagkakaiba?
Sa tingin ko, yung mga operatiba noon, lalo na yung nasa Intel, magagaling silang magtrabaho. Yung mga sa ngayon, sa kabila ng maraming mga gadgets na makakatulong sa kanila sa investigasyon, yung mga malalaking kaso hanggang ngayon, nandoon pa rin hindi pa rin nasosolve. Noon, walang CCTV, walang mga video, walang mga cellphone. Bakas lang ng sapatos, nasosolve yung yung kaso. Pero ngayon, hindi nila nagagawa yon.
Dave, so maputol kita. Detective work, right?
Yes.
Are you saying ang problema ngayon, defective work?
Precisely. Kasi ang daming malalaking kaso na dapat natrabahuhin ng mga detective para masolve. Pero parang walang nagtatrabaho. Ewan ko kung may nagtatrabaho. Kung may nagtatrabaho, dapat may nalulutas. Ito lang tinatawag nating riding in tandem. For the past 40 days, 50 ang recorded na killing. Walang solusyon. Asan yung walang solusyon. Past 40 days, 50 yung motorcycle, yung riding in tandem killing. Ano nangyayari? Noon, nung ang maging problema yung bank robberies. Yung mga armored band robbers, nagtayo ng ng panahon ni DILG Secretary Rafi Alunan ata noon, nagtayo ng task force. In 6 months, solved lahat. Nawala yung problema. Kasi tinatrabaho. Ang tingin ko, ang problema, nasa opisyal. Kung ano ang ugali, ito yung obserbasyon ko kung ano ang ugali ng opisyal, bumababa yun sa mga tauhan niya. Kapag yung opisyal, iba yung nasa isipan, yung mga operative, ganun ang attitude. Kasi personal na nasaksihan ko yan. Isa ako sa mga maswerteng reporter na nakakasama sa mga operasyon ng iba-ibang unit sa Camp Crame. For 30 years ginagawa ko yan. Kahit na editor na ako sa GMA7, lumalabas ako pag malaki ang istorya at nakakasama ako sa operation. Nakikita ko ang attitude ng mga operatiba noon. Base yon sa ugali ng kanilang pinuno. Kapag ang pinuno talaga, iba ang nasa utak, tutulog-tulog ang mga tauhan. Pero kapag ang opisyal nila talagang work-oriented, lahat nagtatrabaho.
Are you saying iba yung work-oriented sa result-oriented? Ang isang tanong kasi dyan, kikita ba tayo dyan? Result-oriented.
Yun yung attitude ng karamihan sa mga opisyal siguro ngayon. Kasi noon, maniwala ka, may mga opisyal na gusto magtrabaho. Wala pa yung pondo nila. Alam mo kung anong ginagawa ng opisyal? Pinagsasama-sama niya yung mga tauhan niya, nagmi-meeting sila. Nakakasama ako, swerte, nakakasama ako. Tapos, meron tayong trabahong malaki, kaya lang wala tayong pondo. Alam mo, nagsasangla sila ng barel, nagsasangla sila ng alahas, ng relos, para makaipon ng pondo. Ang katwiran ng opisyal, pag na-solve natin to, sisingilin natin yung ating mga bossing. Totoo naman.
Okay.
Oo, may mga ganong opisyal na talagang dedicated sa trabaho. Talagang, alam mo, naniniwala ako na maraming mas matisipag at mababait na pulis. Kokonti lang yung hindi matitino. Ang problema, yung hindi matitino, yun ang naghahari kapag yung pinuno medyo kapareho nila ang takbo ng isipan.
Okay. Without sounding nostalgic, hindi naman siguro magagalit sa akin si General Lumibaw saka si General Galang. Nung panahon ko sa Bicol, sabi ko doon sa isang company commander pa noon, kumusta kayo rito? Okay naman. May wetting ba? Meron. Bakit meron? Matagal yung operations fund Yung mag-wetting ang nagbibigay sa amin ng pang-operation laban sa NPA. Kako ganun. Saan ka na makukuha ng pambili ng sardinas? Yun ang isang reality. So, yun sa'yo, sabi mo, sasangla ng baril. Ito hindi. Meron daw source. Yun. Anyway.
Ito Melo, meron akong isang importanteng babanggitin.
Okay.
Ngayon, nagiging controversial yung mga jail. Di ba? Yung Bucor, nagiging controversial yan. Alam mo noon, nagtataka ako ba't kami pumupunta sa Muntinlupa. Tapos may kinakausap kami. Yung pala, kumukuha ng napaka-importanting mga intelligence information doon sa loob ng jail, sa loob ng mga detention center. Ngayon iba, ang kinukuha ng mga opisyal pag pumupunta ron pera. Kasi yung mga
talaga.
Hindi ba? Yung dating bangko ng mga impormasyon ngayon, ibang klaseng bangko na.
Okay. Medyo bago sa akin yung binanggit mong yun. Sabi ni Eduardo Blanco, naalala ko yung kwento ng lola ko tungkol sa lolo ko na isa sa mga original members ng Manila Police Department, a detective. Talaga ikang mahal ng taong bayan. Yun yung binabanggit ni Secretary Buddy Gomez. Pero Secretary Buddy, this may be a bit personal. If you were a spokesman today and you're asked about the police, paano mo ipaliliwanag yun nangyayari? Can the people see light at the end of the tunnel, no matter how long the tunnel is? Buddy.
I will resign. It's indefensible. Yung mga pangyayari ngayon, indefensible. Now, this is my first exposure sa usapang police administration. No? The one that makes good sensibility, very sensible, yung mga binanggit ni General Galang. Why can't we bring it back? I don't know how the alumni of the police, of the PNP feel, like General Galang, General Lumibao, kung magsama-sama sila, iparating sa pinunong kinauukulan yung kanilang observations. So I think what he just said, two things, yung community involvement, stakeholders, at saka yung instead of articles of war or articles of peace, those are the most sensible things that have come out of this discussion. Actually, Melo, kaya lang ako sumali rito because curious din ako, marinig ko sana kung ano pa mga nangyayari sa Kalbayog eh.
Yun lang nga eh. Nawala yung congressman eh. Nawala yung congressman.
Anyway, pag magsasamantala na lang ako may I ask a trivial question?
Sige nga.
Bakit yung general ng ano pa ngayon, police training,
Si General
bakit ibang uniform niya kaysa dun sa isang yung koronel na babae? Now,
Okay.
ang punto ko, let me give it straight.
Sige nga.
Why do the policemen today use as their uniform combat fatigues and camouflage? May gera ba sakali ng Maynila? I think that's foolish.
Yeah.
Pardon me, General, or whatever your rank is. Dapat kayo mismo ang magprotesta. Ginagawa kayong katatawanan ng buong bansa. Look at, in the streets of Manila, I can see it. Nakapatig, camouflage. Bakit? Jungle warfare na ba tayo? Well, that has something to do with morale, not only of the police ranks, but the morale of society.
So, what you're saying is...
That's my trivial observation.
Buddy, what you're saying is, yung uniforme nakakatulong sa perception ng tao sa nagsusuot.
Of course.
Okay.
Hindi naman kailangang maraming burloloy sa katawan eh. As long as, the perception is that yung patig at saka camouflage, sa gera lang nakikita yan eh.
Okay. Major General,
react for that.
yes, please, General.
Please do. I'd like to find out what you feel about it. Dapat ikaw magreklamo kung bakit ka pinipilit na mag-uniform ng ganyan eh.
Oh, yes, please.
Sir, siguro ang PNP, we have a different types of uniforms. Depende doon sa functions at saka depende doon sa trabaho. Yan ni Colonel Camaraw, nasa Camp Crami siya ngayon, and she is performing duty doon sa administratively. Hindi lumalabas yan, walang baril, ballpen na hawak niya kasi recruitment nga siya, busy ngayon sa pagre-recruit, ganang uniform niya. But for me, as a director of the PNPTI, I am in charge with the different trainings. And after this, I'm going to Calatagan, Batangas. Doon sa bundok, titingnan ko yung preparation ng trainings namin para sa ipapasok ni Nora sa amin na mga recruits. So, sa aming dalawa pa lang, magkaibang uniform namin dahil ako, I'm performing field duties. So, mahirap naman mag-akit siya ng bundok na makintab ng sapatos mo. That's why I'm wearing combat boots. I'm wearing this camouflage. Speaking of doon sa mga natin, doon sa mga NCRPO natin, sa districts natin na they are wearing this camouflage. In fact, noon, hindi man siya nag-wear ng camouflage. But because of the pandemic ngayon, it's a part of our plan to protection doon sa pandemic dahil sa COVID-19. Dahil nga sabi ni Chief Intino, ni Jarcinas, bakit tayo mag-wear ng ganito? We have to wear yung camouflage natin. Since na wala tayong uniform na camouflage na namin yung gawa namin na yan na naka-long sleeve, then we have to wear their camouflage. At the same time, mayroon kaming mga athletic uniform na naka-short sleeve, so kino-convert namin yan sa long sleeve so that it will add the protection doon sa operation namin sa COVID-19. Nakikita naman natin, mga frontliners natin, na most of the time, nandun sila nasa field sila, nasa palengke sila, nasa daan sila, performing the duties to help our kababayan para maprotektahan yung ating mga kababayan. At the same time, we protect ourselves from COVID-19. Alam naman ngayon wala exemption yung COVID na yan So, siguro yun ang reason bakit kami nag-wear ng camouflage. Nakuha na ito nakuha namin ito nung pumutok yung COVID-19. That's why we wear this uniform. Ang purpose nito is not to war, but to protect ourselves and to perform in the performance of our duty.
Yeah, buddy.
Alam mo, sandali lang. Hindi bebenta yun Simple lang. Matagal nang bago pa man dumating ang COVID-19, ang mga kapulisan sa Maynila at sa probinsya naka-camouflage na And insofar as having a different type of uniform, sure, have a different type of uniform, but one that does not signify warfare. Because the police is for peace and the camouflage is for warfare, combat. Simple.
Okay. General Ike, your thoughts about this?
Well, actually, I agree with what has been said by Mr. Gomez. Yung camouflage at patige, war ang connotation Maybe there is a need for the PNP, meron namang committee on uniform yan, na i-review na hindi magdi-depict ng wartime. Maski na long sleeve siya, protection din sa pandemic. So it's about time for us to review all these things. Magandang comment ni Mr. Gomez and I agree with him.
Yeah. Okay. Dave? Dave? Si Ramil, Attorney Gabao, please.
Yes, Camelo. So, suportahan ko lang yung statement ni Sir Tommy Gomez and Sir Ike. Actually, ganun din ang perception namin. Kaming nasa academics, sa criminology. Bakit nga ba naka-camouflage, combat? Kung ang talagang mission statement ng PNP is community-oriented service policing, ba't ka magsusuot ng combat if you want to establish partnership or relationship or service in the community while you are in combat uniform? Yun ang trust nila community-oriented service policy. That's one. Pangalawa, kung nag-aaral ka sa mga nangyayari ngayon sa mga movements sa PNP kasi, organizational-wise, only recently nagpalit sila ng ranks, from civilian ranks to military ranks because sabi nila confusion daw ang nagre-result. Now, assuming that is true, is it just coincidence that you change your ranks from civilian to military and now you are wearing camouflage combat military uniforms? To me, regardless of the good intention, dapat ang PNP, tama si Sir Ike, pag-aralan nyo yan kasi iba ang perception sa mamamayan yan, yung ganyang uniform. Siguro pag-aralan, review kung ano ba talagang nangyayari, ano ba talaga ang nagiging epekto sa pananaw ng mamamayan, sa perspektibo ng mamamayan, yung ganyang mga changes na nangyayari sa PNP ngayon. And with all these very controversial issues, no? Yung mga ganyang barilan, patayan, ako, iba ang dating sa mamamayan.
Okay. Dave, your thoughts please bago natin introduce yung isa pa nating member ng panel, si Secretary Rafi. Yung tungkol sa uniforme muna. Please.
Kasi karamihan ng mga nasamahan kong mga operative, nakakasolve sila ng malalaking kaso without using mga yung mga ganyang klaseng uniforme. Madali silang ma-identify na operatiba. So sa intelligence work, dapat mga operatibang nasa baba, nakapaisano lang dapat. Yun ang akin kasi pagka naka-military, parang ang dating mo, tinatakot mo na kagad yung mga tao eh. Yun ang aking nakikita ron.
Sir, can I react for a while?
Okay, naputol.
Kada na actually sa PNP, regardless of uniform siguro namin, ang pinaka bottom line dito is yung trust and confidence ng mga public sa PNP. Sa ngayon, nakikita naman natin siguro na we do not tolerate any misdemeanor o illegal activities ng aming mga pulis. In fact, we are now intensifying our campaign against internal cleansing ng PNP. Kung nakita niyo yung IMIG namin, yung Internal Monitoring Enforcement Group namin, walang ginawa kundi maghanap ng pulis na may mga nangungutong, na may mga illegal activities. Walang ginagawa yan. Araw-araw yan, naghahanap sila para lang may makita sila na pag may nakita silang pulis na nangungutong o whatever, kung anong illegalities yan, hinuhuli ng IMIG natin yan at pinapakita namin sa public na we are not tolerating any yung ganito mga gawain ng kapulisan natin. Internal cleansing ay napaka-ikwan yan, higpit ang PNP ngayon. And in fact, dati, napakatagal ng sinasabi nga, matagal ng pag nakasala ka, buwan-buwan. Ngayon, 2 weeks lang, 3 weeks, 1 month siguro because of the yung guidelines namin dyan. 1 month, you will be dismissed from the service. And once dismissed sa service mo ngayon, ang mawala sa'yo, yung napakataas na sweldo mo, at the same time, yung expected mga millions, multi-millions pesos pag-retire mo. So, kasi ang police namin ngayon, alam na nila kung ano gagawin nila, hindi na pagpalit. Ang maliit na bagay na yan, makalukuhan, illegality niyan, compare sa kanilang future nila, future ng family, future ng retirement nila, na they are receiving now. Siguro sa compute ko minimum of 10 million eh.
Wow.
Maka-receive nila after. Ganun, kasi nung time namin 3,500 yung sweldo ko noon, nung kasabay ko ng mga SPO for nag-retire, they're receiving 4 million. O mas more sa nila, 37,000 na yung kanila. Ang sweldo nila ngayon, pinakamababa yun. Then when you retire, what do you expect? A bigger retirement fee. And that's why, nakikita ko ngayon, there's no reason, there's no room for a police officer na pumunta na pumasok sa mga kalokohan na yan, mga illegalities yan, dahil that's nothing as compared to the privileges na nakuha nila ngayon sa PNP.
Yeah.
So, sabi ko nga, gawin natin ang tama at gawin ang maganda para sa lahat, palagi.
All right. Okay. Let me introduce another member of the panel, si Secretary Rafi M. Alunan III. Siya yung DILG Secretary noong naupo si President Fidel Ramos. Pero bago naupo si General Ramos, nagkaroon ng cleansing program. Without sounding nostalgic, welcome to the program, Secretary Rafi Alunan. Good morning.
Good morning, Melo. Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. At gusto ko lang batiin yung aking mga fellow members ng Philippine Council for Foreign Relations, si General Art Lumibaw at saka General Ike Galang. At nakita ko rin yung kaibigan ko sa From Media, si Dave Veridiano. Kumusta ka, Dave?
Hi, sir.
Yeah.
Buddy Gomez is also with us. Si Buddy Gomez is also with us. Nasa
yes, Buddy Gomez and I were together in the previous administration before President Ramos, under President Cory.
Yeah.
So I remember him very well. We were, in fact, we worked together during the Baguio earthquake.
Yeah.
Nakasama kami doon. Okay, well, to your question, nung umupo na si Presidente Ramos, ang una-una niyang instruction sa akin is lilinisin natin ang PNP. Kasi ito yung carryover ng PCINP. And during the time when the PCINP was still under the armed forces, it had acquired a, shall we say, notorious reputation. So when it was divorced from the AFP and placed under a civilian department, which was the DILG, nung umupo si Presidente Ramos, sabi niya, the first thing that we're going to do is engage in house cleaning. So ang ginawa niya, he met with the senior command sa Camp Crame. At doon niya sinabi sa kanila na we will embark on an early retirement program. And we will all work together for the success of this early retirement program so that we can allow young blood to take over the institution. So sabi niya, I'm going to form a 9-man team na that will be chaired by Secretary Alunan. At magre-rekomenda kayo sa akin ng mga tao that you admire who have an established reputation for integrity and probity, because I intend to form a council or a committee to support Chairman Alunan or Secretary Alunan, who will chair the council. And I will draw from your list 8 more. So it will be a 9-man council. So of course, that meeting went very well, and eventually a 9-man council was formed. My vice chair then was Secretary Rene de Villa, who was then SND. And then there was General Alex Aguirre. There was General Edgar Dula Torres, also General Jimmy Barbers, General Levi Malto, and a few others that completed the 9. Anyway, what we did was, we review namin yung file ng siguro mga over 300 senior officers ng PNP. And this process took 6 months. Kasi not only did we review the files, we interviewed them until we narrowed down our list to I think it was 63 generals and senior colonels na were chosen for early retirement. And that started the process of house cleaning. For the next 4 years, about 3,000 more were separated from the service for various reasons, administrative as well as criminal. So now, yung house cleaning na yon sa PNP was supposed to jumpstart the house cleaning of the entire criminal justice system. Hindi lang yung DILG. Kasi pag sinabi natin criminal justice system, there are 5 pillars there. And 4 of the 5 pillars are government. Pagdating sa law enforcement, that's DILG, PNP. Tapos pagdating sa prosecution, that's DOJ. Pagdating sa judicial, that's the Supreme Court. And then pagdating sa penology, it's split between DILG and DOJ. Yung National Penitentiary sa DOJ, yung city at saka, tatlo. Yung National Penitentiary, DOJ. Yung provincial jails,
DILG.
hindi. That was the purview of the governor.
DILG.
Pero hindi kasama sa BJMP. Ang BJMP under the DILG only covered city and municipal jails. So magulo yung setup. In any case, the house cleaning was supposed to cover the entire criminal justice system. Unfortunately, due to various factors, mukhang ang DILG lang ang that was able to push the agenda forward but could not finish or accomplish its mission over a period of 6 years for a number of reasons, and foremost of that, Melo, was that the officers of the PNP no longer had the disciplinary powers like their counterparts in the AFP. We were now subjected to civilian processes. And so we had to go through the courts. We had to go through civil service, etc. Matagal yung proseso. So yung in a period of 4 years when I was there at the helm sa DILG, we were only able to shall we say eliminate from a roster about 3,000 police officers, when in fact the estimated number of so-called scalawags within the PNP was estimated to be around, and I was astounded by this number, 20%. 20% of 100,000 men in uniform at that time was 20,000. No, so we could not get rid of 20,000 in so short a time because of the civilian process of due process, required by law. So that hampered the process. Now, as to why the DOJ, the Supreme Court, and the others did not follow suit, well, that was probably because we had so many things on our hands. In the first 2 years, we were fighting the power crisis. In the last 2 years of the Ramos administration, we were fighting the Asian financial crisis.
Yeah.
There was only 2 full years where we could really concentrate on what needed to be done. But even that was hampered by so many brush fires that we inherited from previous administrations. So the point now I'm trying to drive at is that the reform of the criminal justice system is a long-term effort. It's a whole of government effort. In fact, it will require a whole of nation effort. And every administration that gets to power will have to continue that process because, after all, we're supposed to be serving the people, protecting them. And we have to give them top-notch law enforcers and criminal justice experts to secure the people and ensure public safety.
Okay. Secretary Rafi, let me ask you this. I don't know about the term of office of the chiefs of the PNP, but in the armed forces, they also have the revolving door policy. Don't you think it's also time for us to reconsider the term of office of the chief of the Philippine National Police? Because while somebody may have the vision to do things, but he is incapacitated by the tour of duty.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll have to depend on Art Lumibao to address this matter because he was chief of the PNP at one point.
Yeah.
What I do know, Art, what I do know is that the law allows for the chief PNP to stay in that position up to 3 years. It's up to the president to keep him there for 3 years or less. Is it 3 years or 4 years?
Uh-huh.
Yes, Melo.
Yes, please.
Parang I do not recall any law which restricts the number of years or the term of the chief PNP. But in practice, parang 1 year minimum. You cannot be appointed as chief if you will retire within 1 year from the time of your appointment.
Mm-hmm.
I think parang presidential prerogative pa rin yata because the present chief will only serve for, I think, 6 months.
Uh-huh.
So parang na-break yung yung tradition na yun because starting from me, lahat ng chief, Calderon, Rason, Bacalso, Persosa, they had at least 1 year term.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm yata ni Gamboa less than 1 year and the rest.
Yeah. The reason I ask is there's got to be some consistency. According to some defense attachés that I talked with, pagdating dun sa armed forces, sa liaison nila, hindi na raw nila maalala kung sino yung chief of staff. Sa dami ng nagpapalit-palit.
Melo, may I interject?
Yes, please.
Because I am reading, I googled it, under Republic Act 6975, the tenure of the chief of the PNP or term of office cannot exceed 4 years. An exception can be made by the Philippine president to extend the PNP chief's term in times of war or other national emergency declared by Congress. So the term cannot exceed 4 years means that it's up to the chief of the commander-in-chief to keep you there for 1 year or 2 years or 3 years or up to 4 years. But in times of emergency, he can extend it.
Or even less than 1 year, sir.
The thing is, in actual practice, at least during my time, I think Bert Rodriguez was chief PNP for about a year and a half, and then Rex Sarmiento was over 2 or 3, around 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years thereabouts. But after that, it became shorter na. There was this, as you say, Melo, revolving door policy.
Yeah.
Art, how long did you serve, Art, under GMA?
1 year and 4 months.
Okay, so there. So more or less yung average, doon, mga 1 year and a half, ganun. That's the average, no?
Yeah.
But a chief PNP can serve up to 4 years based on the discretion of the president.
Okay.
And he's the only one exempted from the retirement rule of age 56.
Okay, good. Thank you for bringing that up, Secretary. But let me ask you this. There was once a colonel in Legazpi City who wanted to be a provincial commander. At kilala ito ni General Lumipaw. I'm referring to Bert Realubit. Gustong-gusto niyang mag-provincial commander man lang. Sabi niya, Sir, i-appoint mo ako ngayon, turnover ngayon, bukas i-relieve mo na ako. May ikwento lang ako sa apo ko na nag-provincial commander ako. Sabi naman nung isa, gawin na natin 45 days para makapag-alaga ka man lang ng manok at maibebenta mo na upon your relief. I don't know whether this thing still happen because it's provided for in the law that the local government official, the governor, should choose from 3 names. I don't know, Secretary Rafi, yung bang pagpili ng provincial director o ng chief of police, dapat ba dumaan talaga sa local government official? Parang kung matino yung local government official, matino yung police.
Nasa PNP law yan eh.
Yung governor, may pa-waiting yung police. Paano yun?
It's in the DILG law, and I think it's also echoed sa PNP law. I think the ones who created the law wanted to emphasize the supremacy of civilian authority over the uniformed services, but it does create problems for us. It created problems for me, in the sense that we have this political culture of at that time very strong and political culture to create private armies, and ginagamit yung local police to be part of their private armies. That's why we launched Oplan Paglalansag to break up private armies and restore order sa local government level, because too many of them were mavericks and presenting peace and order issues, rather than fight criminality. They themselves were demonstrating criminal behavior. So yes, that is an infirmity that should be cured, because the PNP is a national police force, and the administration of the police force rests entirely on the shoulders of the National Police Commission, no? Which has administrative and operational control over the PNP. No one else should usurp the authority of the National Police Commission under the based on my reading of the law.
Uh-huh.
And the fact that the governors and mayors are allowed to choose only disrupts the smooth administration of the Philippine National Police by the NAPOLCOM. It's very disruptive.
Okay, maganda yung binanggit nyo. Dahilan sa isang problema nga, kung matino yung governor o yung mayor, matino yung police force. Pero kung yan ay in cahoots doon sa criminal syndicates o criminal na rin, kaya lang nai-elect, then we have a big problem there. I don't know whether Attorney Camarao can have something to say and General Sintin, because part of your job is to make harmonious relations between LGUs and the police force. Hopefully, it will trickle down to the civilian population. Colonel Camarao, please.
First of all, I would like to also thank Secretary Alunan, sir. So for the question on the LGUs, so as far as recruitment is concerned, LGUs plays a part in the recruitment. Mostly only on the when we have the attrition quota. You know, the attrition quota is the one. Attrition quota was always being given an attention. This is the process of filling up the vacancies in the police stations. So it is embodied in the law that the policy of NAPOLCOM that in terms of attrition quota, there will be an ad hoc committee to be created in each municipality wherein we have a vacancy, or what we call there are personnel, police personnel or police officer being retired, deceased, being dismissed. So those are the things that covers attrition quota. This is for replacement of those people attracted from the PNP or separated from the PNP.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the reason under our law and our policy issued by the NAPOLCOM, there is an ad hoc committee to be created in each municipality wherein there is a vacancy. So, and this is being recommended and approved by the mayor. So yun po yung sa recruitment, as far as recruitment is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So, sa attrition po sila nagkakaroon ng role. Pero, they are just recommendation. Still, we have to process. Still, they have to comply with all the minimum requirements set by law and the physical fitness and the what we call the good moral character that we need for a new PNP personnel.
Okay.
So, yung po.
Salamat po. Major General Sintin, alam mo, nakikita ko you can be promoted to a 3-star rank because you're fit physically. Dahil sabi ni General Sinas, yung mga overweight, hindi mapopromote. Pero paano yun? Yung pagtitraining nyo ng mga police na dumadaan sa inyong institute on how to deal with LGUs and the civilian population.
Good morning. In fact, sa Philippine National Police Training Institute, we are focused solely on training. At once na pinasok na sa training center, training facilities ng ating mga police trainees, nobody is allowed to interfere o makisuyo dyan. Because in fact, during these days, naka-lockdown yung buong regional training centers natin, and we are not allowing anybody to get inside the camp. So, even before yung ating training dyan, wala talagang nakikialam dyan because we are concentrating too much on the training program of instructions, training program, and other yung mga police tactics training natin, wherein yung nandun na sa loob lang, yung mga instructors natin, yung mga officers, and the training staff. Other than that, no one is allowed to go inside to pakisuyo doon. Lalong-lalo na pag may mga violation, simple violation of violation of training guides. Let's say using of cell phones. Then that is tantamount to pag-exist demerits, tantamount to termination from service.
Okay.
And usually, pag terminated from service, mga recruits natin, maraming nakikiusap dyan. But then we are very firm with our decision because we are very particular with the instilling discipline dito sa training service. Kasi this is the only time na opportunity na ito-train natin, mga police natin, makontrol natin sila. And after all, pag lumabas ang training center, then we have no control over them.
Yeah.
So that's why dito para sa amin, exercise namin yung full control and nobody is allowed to interfere.
Yeah, okay. General Ike, yes.
Yes.
Nabanggit kasi yung strict and stringent training. Pero,
Yeah.
you know, I just don't know whether it is also part of police training to acquire critical thinking.
Oh, yes.
Including, yeah. Sige, Art.
Yeah.
Are you calling for me? Hello. Oh.
Sige, Art.
Anyway. Oh. So it is always a part of training, yung critical thinking, and it is not only in the classroom where you gain or where you develop critical thinking, but it is also developed during practical exercises. Like for example, there is a module I think there on what you call this, operations or counterinsurgency operations. So from there, these policemen are trained to think on their feet, to analyze the situation, to estimate the situation, and to apply all the necessary tools that they gain from the lecture room to certain scenarios. So kasama po yan Melo, sa kanilang training.
Okay. General Ike, your thoughts, please?
Yeah. When it comes to professional training, I would personally recommend a drastic solution, which I have recommended when I was the Chief Director of Staff to PPSC then, na para merong halaga ang rango ng bawat officer and non-officer sa PNP, magkaroon tayo ng skill levels. Meaning to say, identified through the rank, ano ang skills ng bawat tao. Hindi katulad ng kami ay commander pa ng classmate ko si Jan Lumibaw. Pag kailangan namin ng additional investigator, hindi rango ang sinasabi namin Ihanap mo kami na marunong mag-imbestiga. But it's about time to give importance to the rank by coming up with skill levels. Pwedeng 3 skill levels sa non-officers, 3 skill levels sa officers. And then, dun i-design yung career training nila for them to develop the skills necessary for their specific ranks. Kaya alam natin ano ang pwedeng i-function ng bawat rango. Hindi katulad ngayon Minsan Master Sergeant sentinel sa krami Masyadong degrading yon. Mataas na yung rango mo, gwardiya ka pa rin. Hindi dapat. So it's about time for us to come up with skill levels. And I am recommending 3 skill levels per officers and 3 skill levels per non-officers.
Okay. Paano po yun? Binalik yung military rank sa police
Well, binalik pero merong prefix na police.
Yun nang
In most countries that I have been through, ganun talaga yung rango ng mga police. Military rank pero merong prefix na police. Police colonel. So that makes the difference between the military and the police. Kasi yung rango natin under the law before, merong kasama halimbawa, inspector. Merong meat inspector merong bus inspector. Yung superintendent, may school superintendent So hindi mo alam kung PNP yon o civilian agency na iba. So dapat walang kapareho para walang confusion.
Yeah. Para din yung judge beauty contest. Anyway, speaking of uniforms, I recall a good friend of ours, General Lumibaw, si General Junicio Santiago, who served as Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces. Sabi niya, yun isang problema, yung uniforme. Sabi ko, bakit? Paano? Pag nag-operate yung mga tao ko at may covert operation, booking kagad. Bakit? Eh pag pumasok ka ng Saunabat, sasabihin ng masahista, army ka, no? Hindi ako army. Hindi, yan ikang brief mo, patig. So, booking na. So, I don't know whether something could be done para hindi ka susulat sa prosecutor ng Kalbayog asking for a list of lawyers defending alleged communist terrorist guerrillas facing trial sa korte. Nangyari ba ito noong panahon ng General Lumibaw? General Galang? Yung mga pasulat-sulat na gano'n, looking for lawyers representing
Kung
NPA.
gusto mong alamin yan, walang formal letter request. Nasa intelligence mo yan, network. Pero walang ganyan na may formal request. Hindi kailangan eh. Madali namang alamin eh. Sa ngayon lang, masasabi natin several measures kung gusto mo malaman sino yung mga lawyers na nag-handle ng militant groups. And in the first place, what is wrong with that? A lawyer can handle any case. Anybody he can represent.
Thank
So
you.
wala akong nakikitang issue dun eh.
Thank you, General Galang. General Lumibaw, please.
By the way, nag-issue na ng statement si General Ilyasan. I think he's the OIC ng PNP ngayon.
Yeah.
And he apologized for the action of this particular officer. I think he is the intelligence officer of Calbayog City Police Station na kung saan nangyari yung namatay yung mayor. Tama yung sabi ni General Galang eh. Madali namang alamin eh. Pero itong officer I think was under time pressure. I'm not defending him by the way. He was under time pressure daw to submit the names of sabihin na natin yun, yung lawyers of defending human rights cases. So galing naman ako sa intelligence. I think I find this very crude. Very crude kasi unang-una you're exposing yourself. Pangalawa, you will get the ire of not only the lawyers but even the entire judicial network. Kaya nag-apologize na nga. I think it was an oversight at least. I would not call it stupidity, but
Sort of.
he was really under time pressure.
Pero it could be synonymous, General Art.
Maybe you're right.
Synonymous. Attorney Ramil, Attorney Gabaw, you're also a lawyer, definitely. How do you feel about this? Because I'm also worried of some lawyer friends.
Well, threatened in the practice of my profession. Kasi sabi nga ni Sir Ike kanina, ay kami mga lawyers, even assuming na itong mga taong ito ay charged as terrorists, and I doubt that they are charged as terrorists kasi nga, wala pang nasa-charge ng terrorism dito sa bansang ito but common crimes lang in relation to acts of terrorism. Now, even assuming that they were charged as terrorists, as a lawyer, it's my constitutional mandate, my oath of office to defend any accused of a crime. Otherwise, madidismiss yung kaso niya kung walang lawyer na magre-represent dahil natatakot na si surveillance pala ng mga pulis. Hindi madidismiss niya ang kaso niya for violation of the Constitution. Dapat, di ko alam kung ano ang meron man talaga o talaga nagkamali itong intelligence officer na ito. Mati-threatened yung mga lawyers pagka ganyan, and it will be counterproductive sa intention natin na maparusahan yung mga akusado kasi nga kung walang representation ng counsel, may violation of due process.
Okay. Attorney Camarao, you're also a lawyer. How do you feel about it?
Sir, actually, as a lawyer, with that letter, I agree with General, but it is not necessary. So, and also, there is already I don't remember any policy that we should do that. And then the third one, we have so many writs, preventive writs issued by the Supreme Court, and we can do that. So those lawyers who have been being asked of their names who handles these cases, even if it's a terrorism cases, even with this illegal drugs. So we are all have rights to handle these things. Remember, lawyers are being called by the court to handle cases, not only to defend, not to defend or to outwit yung ating mga outwit yung ating save yung ating mga accused. No. What is Supreme Court said about the duty of the lawyer? You have to safeguard the rights, the human rights of this accused, even if he is the most guilty, even in your belief, he is guilty. You have still the duty to defend his right. So
Yeah.
I'm speaking as a lawyer.
Uh-huh.
And that is what I really sworn to when I become a lawyer. So accused or a police or side of the government, I'm duty bound. PNP or not, accused or not, I'm duty bound to preserve the human rights, to protect the human rights of the people around you or the people who seek my advice. Yun lang po, sir.
All right. Let's move forward. Ano po yung nakikita ninyong solusyon sa problema ngayon? Siguro let's start with Dave. As a former, once a media man, always a media man. What needs to be done? Anong pwedeng gawin para manatili yung pagtitiwala ng tao sa pulisya? Paki-unmute lang. Yeah.
Ang nakikita ko dito, Camelo, no, training talaga ng mga police operatives natin. Alam mo, marami namang mga dating matitinik na mga police officers, mga operatiba. Bakit hindi nila kunin ito ng mga speaker para yung mga past experiences nila, maikwento nila, masabi nila doon sa mga baguhang mga mag-iimbestiga, at makakita sila ng totoong lesson, hindi yung galing lang sa libro ng mga experiences, yung experiences mismo ng mga talagang operatiba na trumabaho ng totoong trabaho. Marami naman sila, marami pang buhay ngayon. In fact, pinakikinabangan pa ang mga opisyal na ito ng mga pribadong organisasyon, pribadong mga kumpanya. So, pwedeng imbitahin para sa mga trainings. Kulang sila sa training, I'm sure. Ang dami-daming mga gadgets na mapapakinabangan na dapat nila magamit sa investigasyon. Walang tulong sa kanila. Training talaga with proper guidance from those officers na actually na-involved sa mga malalalim na investigasyon.
Yeah. Alam po ninyo, si Dave Veridiano is an electrical engineer, so he knows what he's talking about. Okay. I-recommend ko rin kay Major General Sintin, siguro, General, pwede naman magkaroon din kayo ng tracer studies, Tracer studies, kumusta yung mga nagtapos sa inyong training, where are they today? And in the event may na-dismiss sa kanila, ano yung hanap buhay nila? Dahil baka mamaya magaling yan sa ordnance, magaling yan sa kung ano, baka gamitin ng kabila yan. You know, it could cut both ways. May tracer studies po ba kayo sa inyong graduates?
Camilo, yung actually, yung mga after ng PSBRC training natin, ibig sabihin after ng mag-graduate silang recruits, then they have to go back sa dito training centers, PNPTI, for their police junior leadership course. Ibig sabihin they are going to review and we have introduced some subjects in their curriculum, just like police intelligence, police operations, police investigations. Nandito lahat yan sa police leadership, junior leadership course nila. And then meron tayong mga meron tayong mga list of graduates, mga competent and efficient investigators natin, intelligence officer na nakagraduate sa training centers. And then after ng pagdating nila ng senior master sergeant nila, then they have to go back again dito sa training center for their senior leadership course. Then during this training, nire-review na natin yung kanilang mga yung mga specialty nila, yung kanilang mga career courses nila, mga let's say investigators, magaling silang PCR officer, then meron tayong mga listahan dito na we can recommend immediately. Sabit namin yan sa SRDD, sa Kamkrani, for the record. Ngayon, pag maghanap ang PNP, na sino mga magaling na investigators dyan, sino ba magaling na mga intelligence officer dyan, doon sa SRDD, meron natin lahat, naka-database lahat yung mga records ng ating mga polisan dyan. In fact, when I was the director ng PNP Training Service, bago ako na-assign dito sa PNPTI, ako yung in charge doon sa mga yung criminal investigation and detection na course nila doon, police intelligence course, nandun lahat yun sa training service. At yan lahat doon ay ma-record tayo doon sa Directorate for Human Resource and Doctrine Development. Kumpleto yan. Alam ng PNP yung mga galing natin investigator. At yan ang usually naman yung mga galing na investigator, yun ang mga experienced investigators natin sa field.
Good.
At karamihan investigators natin ay matitino talaga. They are dedicated, professional police officers. Sabi ko nga, as compared noon, sa ngayon napakalayo. Kasi I witness ako for 32 years sa service, yung comparing yung police natin noon at police natin ngayon. Noong araw, walang nagka-counter-check ng mga illegal activities ng PNP natin mga operatives natin. Now, we have this IMIG na 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, hinahanap nila, minomonitor nila lahat ng activities natin ng kapulisan. Pag mayroon kang nahuli, nasa station, at yung investigador, tumingi ka, ni 5 centavos yan, you expect I will be entrapped.
Okay.
So that's why yun ang mga kapulisan natin, hindi alam ngayon. Very careful sila sa mga ginagawa nila in terms of investigation, police operations, kasi may IMIG tayo. At at the same time, sabi ko nga kanina, once na natanggal ang serbisyo, you lose everything. Napakalaki na wala sa iyo in terms of benefits and your future.
Okay, very good. Napakaganda. Yes, Colonel, your thoughts? Colonel Camaro, please.
Sir, for this morning po, I would like to thank you for the invitation. First of all, I would like to clear something lang po for the cases of AWOL. There are changes kasi I've been in the Discipline Law and Order Division before I assumed this position. So what are the changes? When you are AWOL, kung dati po sumasahod pa rin sila kahit na AWOL na po sila, ngayon po hindi na. So lahat po ng AWOL ngayon, wala na rin pong sahod. Sundan ko lang po yung sinasabi ng ating boss na si General Sintin. Talaga nagbago, we are trying our best to change the system in the PNP. Most especially in internal discipline. So second, even sabihin natin na 1 month pa rin, masyado pa rin matagal ang aming summary hearing proceedings. Pero sa ngayon po, since na po ako naupo ng bilod, very minimal po ang reverse po rin ng NAPOL ko. I just wanted to, kasi may record din po tayo sa ating PNP na even the NAPOL believes na ngayon sa ating mga leaders natin na sila po ay dapat suportahan pag nag-decide na po.
Yeah.
Sa third naman po, pagdating naman po sa recruitment, sir, makakaasa kayo for further improvement ng system namin. So hindi na po kami pwede na yan. Yan ang lagi ko sinasabi. We have to follow the procedure, follow the policy, and we have to get rid of this corruption.
Good.
Ako po talaga ako sa corruption. Ayoko ho ng corruption sa recruitment habang ako po ang director. Kasi yan po yung pinangako ko po nung ako po ay nagpulis. So yun lang, sir. Maraming salamat po.
Okay, isang tanong, madaling tanong. Paano ako yung nag-awol na pulis? Nirarapol ang utang. May utang sa loan association, may utang sa 5-6. Paano po yun?
Sir, they have to resort to courts for the collection of sum of money. Basta sa PNP ho, cut ng sahod niya, wala kami obligasyon na pasahuran siya. Under the doctrine ng Supreme Court natin, no work, no pay.
Okay, good. Thank you. Attorney Gabao, your thoughts, concluding statements bago tayo magtungo kay Ike at kay General Art at kay Secretary Rafi.
Yes, Camelo, thank you. Buti nandito si General Sintin. And of course, nakipag-coordinate naman ako kay Attorney Camarao. We have a coordination efforts right now. Just want to explain, no? Ang mga registered criminologists ay isang uri ng regulated profession under the PRC. Katulad yan ng mga doctors, nurses, architects, and so on and so forth. So meron silang mga scope of practice of profession. At yung mga criminologists natin, yung sinabi kong 40% na nasa PNP ngayon, they are professionals practicing their profession in the PNP. In short, ang PNP ay employer nitong mga criminologists na ito. At ang puhunan nila para makapag-practice ng criminology sa loob ng PNP ay yung kanilang license as registered criminologist, no? So nakakatuwa din na because of our new law, medyo nagkaroon ng dynamism kami ngayon. Sana wag makakalimutan ng PNP and we have to take advantage of this, no? We have to have a working relationship. Kasi yung 40% na yan, hindi mo naman pwedeng murahin yan sa organisasyon mo. That is still 40%. If you can take advantage of that 40%, shape them in coordination or in partnership with the PRC and the Board for Criminologists to be role models in your organization. Mind you, that is 40% role models. Pero kailangan natin ng coordination dito. Hindi natin pwedeng itabi mo yung pagiging criminologist nila at ituturing mo lang silang empleyado as members of your organization. They are professionals and your employee at the same time, no? So, kaya kami ngayon, ang mga professionals sa PRC katulad ng criminologists ay we are following national policies, no? Local and international katulad ng continuing professional development. They cannot renew their license without continuing professional development. At ang sabi nga ng CSC, kung wala silang professional development as professionals and their licenses are revoked, then that eligibility that they use in the PNP should be a ground for their separation in the PNP.
Okay.
No? Kailangan namin talagang tutukan ito. We have a program on career progression and specialization which I am now coordinating with DPRM, with HRDD, no? And later on siguro kay General Sintin sa training services, no? And we're continuously also making sure that our criminologists should adhere to that strict, no? Ethics and values and discipline. So hopefully magkaroon ng magandang partnership ang PRC, ang Board for Criminologists, the PNP, HRDD, DPRM, training services, and mag-partnership kami, at least for the 40% the organization which are registered criminologists. Yun lang, Camelo. So that we can contribute in the continuing reform and professionalization of personnel of the PNP.
Yeah.
Thank you, Camelo.
Attorney Gabao, stay negative, ha?
Thank you.
Mahirap na. Mahirap na. Para kay General Ike Galang, sabi ni Margidote, nice seeing you, General Galang. Yun daw, community-oriented policing system pa ba na nagbibigay ng premium doon sa crime prevention? Meron pa ba noon? At anong assessment sa implementation ng balanced scorecard transformation program? Tanong ni Margidote from Cebu.
Well, Mar, magandang umaga. Long time no see. Ang masasabi ko, kung titignan mo ang criminal justice system, hindi sa crime prevention ang police eh. Basically, sa mga chief executives yan, down to the barangay level. Kasi ang law enforcement pillar ay investigation and solution of crime. Although, in a way, the PNP may contribute to prevention, but that is not the focus of the police anywhere in the world. It is crime investigation and crime solution and crime suppression. That is well defined in our criminal justice system. Then ang masasabi ko for my last thought, ang Philippine Council for Foreign Relations, chaired by Secretary Rafi Alunan, had an initiative through our classmate ni General Lumibaw, General Ed Adan, ng open discussion with the new Vice Chair of NAPOLCOM, Attorney Vitaliano Aguirre, on what must be done to the PNP. At karamihan ng mga na-discuss natin ngayon ay naisama namin doon. And I just personally hope na yung mga na-discuss doon ay talagang tutukan ng NAPOLCOM at tignan how all those things could be realized para sa kabutihan ng PNP. Para ma-transform talaga ang PNP to what the community wants the PNP to be community and service oriented PNP as defined by law. Thank you,
Okay.
Camelo.
Siguro pwede nyo rin pag-usapan ni Attorney Aguirre yung tungkol sa small town lottery dahil kuminsan controversial din yan at pati pulis na dadamay.
Yeah, actually, if I remember right, na-discuss namin yan on illegal gambling.
Okay, very good. General Art, your thoughts please?
Yeah. Closing statement na yata to, no, Melo?
I'm sorry, we cannot serve lunch virtually.
Masarap yun, masarap. Anyway, this is a very productive morning. The discussion was very sensible, ni Buddy Gomez. And from the discussion, I think perception is still the name of the game. From the records of the PNP and the DILG, I think less than 5% lang yata yung may kaso na police or or convicted because of administrative or criminal in nature na cases. So, pag kasing sinasabi natin every time may nangyayari sa police, ang mga culprits yan recruitment, training, neuropsychiatry, lack of intelligence, and leadership. But to me, yung recruitment ngayon, as explained earlier by Attorney Lenny Camarao and General Sintin, mukha namang ayos Ayos. Meaning, I think everything is covered except yung sabi ni Jalgalang kanina, yung the rank should match the skills. Alam mo, Melo, dun sa armed forces noon, where we came from, meron yung tinatawag na MOS or yung Military Occupational Specialty. So, where you are skilled or where you are specialized, doon ka pupunta sa unit na yon. And if we can replicate that in the Philippine National Police, mas gaganda siguro yung organization. Second is, I think let us pursue yung PNP transformation program, which I started that's about 15 years ago. This is now renamed Police, ano yun, Mr.?
Center for Police Strategic Management.
Center for Police Strategic Management, which supervises and gives guidance to our operational troops. Now, again, this is a question of implementation. Kasi maski napakaganda yung concept, napakaganda yung program. Just like our laws, marami tayong batas. Pero pagdating naman doon sa implementation, mukhang doon tayo kulang. Ang masasabi ko, it's always leading the troops by example. I think you and I know na ang legacy ni Ping Lacson when he was the chief, yung 32-inch waistline hindi makakalimutan yan forever. That is his legacy. Mas ngayon, Senado, yun ang tawag sa kanya. He is the author of the 32-inch waistline. Naka-embed na sa utak ng hindi lang pulis lahat ng Pilipino. Kasi very practical, very doable, and it improved actually yung discipline ng Philippine National Police. Ayun, ang hirap kasi sa perception, like yung policeman ng Tarlac na nakapatay ng an old woman, unarmed, tapos binaril ng tarantadong pulis, that practically destroyed the entire image of the Philippine National Police. You know, isang tao lang, pero nasira yung buong image ng Philippine National Police. Sabihin natin, ito ang accomplishment ko, nahuli namin ito, blah, blah, blah. But one incident will destroy the image of the Philippine National Police. So kailangan protektahan natin, kasamahan sa Philippine National Police. Let us protect the image of the Philippine National Police. Napakahirap ibalik yung trust and confidence ng mga tao sa atin. And I would cite, siguro, yung mga leaders natin, especially in the small units, yung level ng police stations, doon nagkakaroon ng problema. At saka doon sa special units like yung PNP, PIDEA shootout. To me, maski sabing may coordination doon, I would like to believe na yung coordination kulang. Siguro nag-coordinate yung Chief PNP, yung Chairman PIDEA, o yung District Director, at saka yung whatever sa NCRPO, pero hindi bumaba yung coordination sa baba. So there was no effective coordination. And kaya nga, yung practice namin ni Jal Galang noon, when we were still troop leaders ng small units, dapat bago jump off, mayroong briefing. Yung briefing, doon mo isa-cite yung observance of the human rights, paano ka mag-arrest, applying the Miranda Doctrine, lahat yun eh. Lahat yun na brief sa mga tao natin before any jump off or any start of an operation. Palagay ko hindi na nasusunod ngayon yun, Ike, di ba? Or bihira na. And the last but not the least, ang PNP kasi sa tingin ko ngayon, confused sila sa organization eh. Because mayroong PNP, mayroong NAPOLCOM, mayroong Civil Service Commission. They are serving 3 masters. Why don't we simplify the organization? If it is PNP, then so be it. If it is Civil Service, so be it. If it is NAPOLCOM, so be it. Napakaraming, too many sanabagan spoil the broth, di ba? Sabi nila. Kaya mas maganda siguro i-simplify natin.
Okay.
Yun lamang po yung thought ko about this. Thank you.
Maraming salamat. We're also joined by Police Lieutenant Colonel Lerma Tirana, OIC ng Police Recruitment and Selection Board ng NCR. Siguro we will have a separate interview with you for your recruitment for NCR because this is also controversial, especially ang lalakas ng mayors dito. Don't worry, we will have a separate interview with you. Secretary Rafi, please take the opportunity. As former SILG, tell us your thoughts, what could be done. The house is not beyond repair, but you don't have to burn the whole house to fight termites. Paki-unmute lang po. Paki-unmute lang. Yeah. Okay.
I'll begin by saying that policy and principles override personalities and principles. We're so focused on personalities and principles at the expense of policy and principles. Hindi na sustain yung policy and principles because we're just focused on the personality at the moment or whoever is in the lead, no, or in charge. For example, yung PNP Transformation Program. Beautiful program based on the balanced scorecard, but it was Philippinized by the Institute for the Solidarity in Asia and it was called the PGS, the Performance Governance System. This is basically a transformation roadmap for whoever signs up for it. And the PNP was already very much involved in the PGS system program and was one of the first that signed up. And yet, the implementation or execution of the transformation undulated, no? It had its ups and downs depending on who was at the helm. So very frustrated yung mga officers who were handling that program because the support given to the program was subject to the whim of the commander or the PNP chief at the time. That's a good example of a personality that overrides principle and policy. Having said that, there are 2 things that I'd like to point out. Pagdating sa peace and order, the DILG should be very proactive in getting the local chief executives, governors and mayors, down to the barangay captains, to be involved in peace and order management because they are the heads of the respective councils. They are responsible for the peace and order in the respective areas of responsibility. And that should not be taken for granted. And so monitoring and supervision administrative oversight should be provided by the DILG at all times. And that should be sustained regardless of who is in power. That should be a continuous effort from one administration to the next. The other has to do with Oplan Pagbabago. It's a policy that we instituted during our time, side by side with Oplan Paglalansag, which was the breakup of private armies. And to make sure that our policemen were not in the employ of local warlords using them as part of their private armies. Yung Oplan Pagbabago is part of the transformation effort. No, in fact, nauna pa nga yun sa transformation roadmap ng PNP. I would say that it was the precursor because when that was envisioned, the elements of moral recovery, human rights education, professionalization, and modernization were all considered by Oplan Pagbabago. And that should have been sustained from one administration to the next, regardless of who was the President of the Philippines or the DILG Secretary or the Chief of the Philippine National Police. Ang problema, pabago-bago ang direksyon because we are not policy and program-oriented. We are personality oriented. So limitado yung focus natin sa programa for either 3 years or 6 years, depending kung sino nakaupo. Unlike other countries where policy overrides personality. No, so we have to be very, very mindful that this particular mindset or short-term limited mindset should be transformed. Yan ang number one transformation. The target should be our mindset. Doon nag-umpisa yun eh. If we're focused only on 3 to 6 years and whoever is the leader, we will not be able to sustain our long-term policies and programs requiring whole of government effort or whole of nation efforts. So those are the thoughts that I'd like to leave behind. There's one thing that was mentioned by Art regarding the DILG NAPOLCOM setup. Really, it's very unwieldy. But I think I'm putting myself in the shoes of those who crafted the law. May symbiotic relationship yung DILG sa NAPOLCOM in the sense that the common or denominator is the Secretary of the DILG, who is concurrently the chairman of the National Police Commission, and whose job is to harmonize the relations between the local government officials and the Philippine National Police, precisely because of that portion of the law requiring local chief executives to choose their chiefs of police. So he has to be the referee there, and he has to make sure that yung mga police under the operational control of the local chief executives are not abused by the LCEs. And neither should the police allow themselves to be politicized by the local chief executives. So it's a very difficult situation because there are no real answers. And given our culture, talagang dihado ang DILG secretary dyan at saka yung NAPOLCOM. I think the police should be totally divorced from the operational control of the local chief executive because administratively, the PNP has control over its local police forces and nobody else should interfere there. Mm-hmm. If they have administrative control over their men, they should also have operational control. But there could be some sort of an arrangement where the local chief executives may have some leeway in directing their local police forces in executing peace and order plans and strategies. For as long as it's confined within those limits, then that's fine. Anything beyond that is no or verboten. Mm-hmm. So there's still a lot to be processed and discussed. Surely what we have is imperfect, and there is a crying need to review the law and cure its imperfections.
Yeah. Thank you. Isang magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Sabi nga ni Margidote, si General Baraceros daw ang isa sa best implementers ng PGS when he headed the CPSM. Pero succeeding Chief PNP ay iba-iba, up and down. Sabi nga ni Secretary Rafi Alunan. Pero maganda yung balance scorecard, Harvard technology yan. Okay.
Actually, Melo, before Barry, it was Cesar Binag who
Yeah.
handled the transformation. No? He's the number 3 guy now in the PNP.
Yeah. I was trying to invite him, kaya lang ang pinadala nga sina General Sintin saka si Colonel Amaraw. Okay lang. No?
Yeah. And so those two guys were sterling examples of what police officers should be, no? And they knew exactly where to steer the PNP towards transformation. Ang problema, hindi consistent ang support that they received through time.
Yeah.
So this again, I have to underscore the fact that once we adopt a policy, dapat consistent yan. It should be consistently applied throughout. Oplan paglalansag, Oplan pagbabago, yung transformation roadmap. These are clear examples of policies that have to be supported throughout by any administration in power.
Yeah, I can only agree. Napakaganda ng discussions. The key word is consistency. You know, if there's one quotation I heard from then Mayor Fred Lim of Manila, sabi niya, the law applies to all or none at all. Huwag na lang, di ba? So tingnan natin. Pero let me end our discussions today by saying thank you to our resource persons. Sabi ni Earl Warren, the police must obey the law while enforcing the law. Sabi ni Robert Peel, the police are the public and the public are the police. The police being only members of the public who are paid to give full-time attention to duties which are incumbent on every citizen in the interests of community welfare and existence. To our brilliant guests and our audience, maraming salamat po. In Bicol, we say Diyos mabalos. Till next time, and may the COVID rate flatten for the safety and sanity of everyone. Magandang umaga po. Maraming salamat. Till next time. Thank you.
Thank you.